would love to go over there and interact with them. But Stacy, you got anything while we're waiting for Ahsh? Because I'm gonna close up shortly.
No, I'll let them two go ahead and close it out.
Yeah, I'll kill you in January.
Yeah, I'll call y'all. I'll call y'all sometime later on in the year or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it quick too. I'm gonna make it quick too.
Okay,
Stacey, I'm gonna make it quick on you.
All right, Peter, you and brother Ahsh, y'all finish up so I could I do want brother Ahsh and Stacey to preview their debate coming up next in a few weeks.
I just want to know what tribe you're from and where's that tribe at now. That's it.
I already answered you. My tribe is scattered across the four corners across with the rest of the Israelites. Luke 21:24, they're going to captivity under all nations out of Christ's mouth. That being said, I'm not going to answer that question a fourth time, brother. Now, you flip it.
The Bible says he is not a Jew.
The fact of the matter is there's no such thing as a spiritual Levite or a spiritual Jew.
It says he is not a Jew by nature. What does that mean?
A Jew by nature is somebody that is born a Jew.
Then you born a Jew?
Brother, that's a stupid question. I just told you.
You say you were from a tribe. Well, you be from that tribe. You got to be born a Jew, then, right?
Brother, I answered the question. You asking stupid questions.
Yeah, you see,
I'm from the tribe of Judah. I'm telling you, I was born a Jew.
I want y'all to see he stuck. The scripture say he is not a Jew by nature, and he said he's a natural Jew. That's
so I'm talking about
he's of a tribe that's scattered abroad. So that's by nature.
Brother, them pork eating your brain.
No, don't try to get it off. Don't try to throw it off.
Your worms eating your brain, brother. I answered the question.
Hey, brother, you're not a Jew by nature.
Did you ever hear me answer the question for the Moses?
You don't have a tribe you came from under. You're not a natural Jew. There are no natural Jews now.
Brother, you're filibustering. You're doing a terrible job of doing that.
You can call it filibustering all you want, son. Go somewhere and sit down. You're not a Jew.
Don't call me son because I come from your inbred lineage, brother.
I'm going to say it again.
Don't shame my father.
I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again.
Now, if we could deal cordially, there's no such thing as a spiritual Levite, and there's no such thing as a spiritual Jew.
Wait a minute. So that's your saying.
You got a problem with discipline.
There's no such thing.
Let's deal cordially.
There's no such thing as you being a natural Jew now. Is there anything about you being a natural Jew now?
Is there anything about me being a natural Jew? What do you mean?
Now, you say you are a natural Jew. Did you not tell the people you are a natural Jew?
Yes, absolutely. I said I'm from the tribe of Judah.
The scripture says he is not a Jew by nature. Is that talking about a natural Jew?
It says he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. So this is talking about projecting yourself to be a Jew. This is talking about how you can't put on a flesh. It's not
was
talking
you born
about
a Jew, or did you come a Jew by circumcising of your foreskin?
What? You don't become a Jew by getting circumcised, brother. You're talking about a modern day construct according to religion.
All right. So now you're born
what do you mean,
a Jew.
All right, brother. You're not making
all right.
Now, whether you're buying a new Mac this year or you just want to make your old Mac feel new again, that's why I partnered up with Clean My Mac.
So I'm gonna ask you again. I'm gonna just ask that. I'm gonna let go. Were you born a Jew?
Hey, Trevor, man, my bad, man. I thought this brother.
Was you born a Jew?
This is a.
Was you born a Jew? Yes or no?
Hey, brother, shalom. I can't stoop to such lows.
Yeah, because you ain't got nothing. Go somewhere and sit down.
All right, Peter, I'm be expecting the call from me, at some point, so we can set up a date and time with you and Stacy.
All right. Yeah, because these natural Jews I kill every day.
We call it sin. That's what you sound like.
Y'all had to understand, brother. Ahsh don't know about Peter. Peter is a legend on YouTube, man. Go seek out his debate with Captain Tazariak. It was crazy, just insane. Pete, that's how I first knew about Peter. Peter is a legend, man. So you gotta take him. You love him or you hate him. It can't be no in between.
That's a good way to put it.
So,
hey, Trevor, I'm looking forward to having a discussion with Mosley, man. He know how to deal, man. Mosley, man, good work, man.
So, all right. So, let's preview before we get out of here. Let's let's preview your guys' upcoming debate, December 5th. You know, we finally got it locked and loaded in the ring, December 5th. You two will be stepping in the ring with one another. And let me look at me. I don't have the I'm normally prepared. I don't have a flyer up. That's crazy. Oh, nope, here it go right here. Let me load it in the studio real quick. We do have a big one, just because this debate topic I've heard bantered around on YouTube a lot, and it needs to be settled. You know, either way, it needs to be settled. So December 5th at 6 p.m. The topic of the debate is: will the Israelites enslave the Gentiles in the kingdom? Yes. Slavery in the kingdom of God. So I know you guys, I never give away my hand. I don't expect you guys to, but if you guys want to just let us know what we in store for before we get to that day.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm talking about is not something permanent. It is a quick chastisement for the nations before the world is at peace under Christ's rulership. That is my position, and I will illustrate that very clearly using the scripture. That's how I'm coming. I'm sure Brother Mosley is going to come, and he's going to do a great job at eloquently expressing his position as well.
So just so we're clear, though, because I asked you this when you were setting up the debate, you're talking about chattel slavery.
That's correct. We're going to be able to possess them for a while, and we will be taking Edom's possessions permanently.
I hope you guys hear what he's saying. Like, Stacy, what do you got? What, I know you don't want to tip your hand or anything like that, but what could we be? What should we look forward to come December 5th?
Well, respectfully, he won't be able to prove his proposition. And in my first speech, I will refute what he's saying, and I will also show that no such thing exists in the New Testament.
Man, you're normally so chatty. That's all you got, huh?
Respectfully, I think Peter's debate with the Son of God is probably going to be a whole lot easier, but this is going to be easy.
Now, I will say, when I listen to Brother Ahsh and I check out his channel, he is not going to be as easy as you guys seem to think. Like, I think his breakdown of the scriptures is insane. And that's from my very limited time seeing him or checking out his channel. But so it's not going to be as easy as, oh, I'm just going to say this and you're going to be done. As we see with most Israelites, they have an answer for every single thing you bring out. So I wish it was tomorrow. I can't. I don't even know what to say about this. This is crazy.
Well, one of the things I've noticed, and I say this with all respect to them and their belief system and their convictions, they don't come up against the right people. They come up against ignoramuses, and I say that respectfully, who don't know the Bible. And so it will give off of an appearance that they know what they're talking about. That's why Captain Tazariak said, I'll never debate you again, because they seek out people who are ignorant of scripture.
Are you tired of your YouTube channel not getting the attention it deserves? Building a YouTube channel can be a very lucrative and
that gives an appearance of them knowing scripture. But when you come across someone who knows scripture and who's not bereft of what the Bible teaches, then it's a whole different story at that point. And that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see December 5th. And again, I look forward to what he has to bring. And the Bible is a closed book. And so what we're going to do is, if his proposition is true, it's got to be proved from the Bible. If it's false, then I'll have to show that to be false.
So, Brother Ahsh, go ahead.
I was just saying I appreciate that. What were you going to ask me, brother?
Without going into, I'm not asking you to show your hand. I'm just saying, so when we read in scripture about the 1,000-year millennial kingdom, is that what you're talking about?
I would just simplify it to Christ's dominion and the Israelites' dominion after he returns. Reason why is because when it comes to any type of figurative speech in the Bible, I don't like to hype up the phrase apocalyptic language. A lot of times it's a cop out, but that 1,000 years, it could very well be exceeded. The scriptures say that we will rule forever, ever, and even ever. It's the first time we see that extra emphasis on forever in the entirety of the scripture. So that's why I'm not going to put a 1,000-year cap on it. But I do believe that there is something special that is supposed to happen during 1,000 years of hamashiach's dominion. And I will say that a part of the issue is the difference between covenant and testament. A lot of times we oversimplify and we equate those things when actually a testament is a different type of covenant. It's about inheritance more so than the aspect of a direct agreement with two individuals. So a lot gets lost in translation when we talk about covenant and testament. And there's something special that the descendants of Israel who endure in the faith of hamashiach, who the world calls Christ, those that endure in that faith will inherit right alongside him, and it will be the possession of the nations. So, I'm going to demonstrate that very adequately, and I'm going to show y'all some prophecies that have never come to pass, and it will be our dear brother's responsibility to prove that they have not come to pass, or prove that they have come to pass, rather.
All right, and I don't want y'all to give up nothing else. So I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end it right there. Patrick T says, "How are they gonna get whips into heaven?"
Thank you again, Israel Bound, for a good conversation. All right, I'm bringing you up, but you said some pretty messed up things about me in the past, so my finger it's itchy. But I don't want it to be that way, because you see how good we can talk and have good conversations. But Ahsh Rawchaa, maybe tell people about who you are and welcome to the smoke room.
For the sake of discussion, shalom, for sure.
All right.
Yes, you're correct. I have said some things about you, some unfavorable things, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a peaceful discussion. And I would like to be an example to the other Israelites in that same regard.
All right, I'm listening.
We don't gotta talk over people. So that said, I hope that we can proceed in a cordial way, just for the sake of discussion.
All right,
I'm doing
all right. I'm putting on the screen AH.
Look, man. Shalom, family. Shalom. First and foremost, we're giving all praises, all honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh in the name of his son. It's your brother Ahsh Rawchaa, and we're back at it with another episode of The Incinerator. Y'all see it, the debate's coming up between me and Stacey Mobley is going down. I'm excited about this. Why? Because y'all seen me deal with people, you've seen me question people, you've seen me walk people down on the streets. But one thing that you have not actually seen, as interesting as this may sound, is you've never seen me actually debate. I've been holding that one back, and I'm excited about showing you what it looked like when eyes go full beast mode, full offense. We all know I got a strong defense through the spirit of the Most High. All praises to the Most High for endowing me with that ability. But I'm going to show you what it looked like when I completely crush a Christian spirit and argument. I'm going to pull the rug right from under, brother. You know what I mean? We're not going to do it out of malice. We're going to do it for the sake of truth. And we're going to do it for the sake of beating the lies up out of any Christian foundation. And the smoke is up in the air for any Christian that would like to argue the same topic. I also want to argue racist tenets in the Torah. Any Christians in the building, please let me know if you'd like to take that smoke. You can choose the platform as long as it's adequate platform. I'll smack you around wherever you want to be seen being smacked around at in the name of the Most High God, just like our our ancestor David did long ago, there ain't no Goliath that's going to be able to stand against the truth in the last days. That's the smoke that I'm bringing. Holy smokes. That being said, man, I want to thank y'all that's already crashing in. We're going to watch this dialogue that I had with Vocab Malone. You know, I gave him my word. I told him we'd have a decent dialogue. We went back and forth a little bit. And, you know, I kind of wanted to address the way that he approaches prophecy. You know, he has a methodology where he likes to filter things through Christ, but he kind of does it backwards. Whereas Christ says, he that believeth on me, as the scriptures have said, you know what I mean? Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So that being said, you know, the dialogue's interesting. Unfortunately, we don't get to deal as long as I want to. I would definitely like to have a lengthier discussion with Mr. Malone. I did invite him, told him, you know, I want to set something up to where we can dialogue one-on-one. Lord willing, we could get that set up sooner than later. Man, matter of fact, before I even get into the footage, before I even hit the intro, I want to know if y'all hit that link already and hit the notification bell to that channel. Who did that? Let me get the fire emojis in the chat if y'all done already went in there and hit the notification bell. Let me get the fire emojis in the chat if you're going to be in there to see at Ahsh Rawchaa completely roast this Christian. Fire of God is going to be represented very well on that day. I just started putting a presentation together. I've been studying the op, so I know where he stay at. I know where he like to eat at. And I'm stalking my prey. That being said, man, I just really want y'all to be there representing. I want y'all there in the building, making it known that we heard what he said about us seeking out to debate unintelligent people. Look, I'm taking all competitors. Y'all done seen me offer to smoke to any and everybody on several occasions, and they all run the other way. Why? It's because the truth is on our side. Not because I'm somebody special, but because the truth is on our side, and because I'm one of the brothers that don't shake when the lie come up. You understand that? That being said, man, welcome to another episode of The Incinerator. We're going to get right to it.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
H or the spelling?
AHSH.
Okay, that's what I got. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, AHSH.
All right, that's what I got.
So you said your trigger finger ready, right?
I'm just saying that I like to have good conversations like I just had with the guy, but I also know how some people might tend to be. Some people meaning you. That's what I'm saying,
I'll be
bro.
cool. I'll be cool. I ain't gonna do you dirty.
All right, go ahead. I've heard that before, but go ahead. I'm listening. Yeah, I'm listening. Exactly. I'm here. I'm all ears, though. I'm all ears.
So, okay, and I will be transparent. The transparent. The intention is to, you know, get a clip that I can air regarding the discussion. I will not call you out of your name during the airing of that footage or anything like that. I won't paint you as anything negative.
Well, it is possible. It is possible to get clips out of me. It is possible because you know I am not perfect or all knowing, so I can always make mistakes. So it's very possible to get a clip out of me. Go ahead. Today might be your lucky day, even though I don't believe in luck. But go ahead.
It's not necessarily. I got you. You have a method where you filter things through Christ.
Yes, I'm not going to disagree with that. Yeah,
I believe that I believe in turning the telescope the other way.
Okay.
and that the prophecies help you understand Christ as, you know, you see more and more about him as it unfolds. I wanted to look at Zechariah 8 with you.
All right. Yeah, you are right about that. And I would take that from Christ himself, though. You know, if someone said, well, why do you do it that way? Why do you say through the lens of Christ? I would say that's because that's what Jesus did. Do you know what I mean? Jesus himself. Like in, you know, in the book of Luke at the end, where they're walking down the road to Emmaus, and it says he opened up the scriptures and showed them where he was, you know, how these things must be fulfilled in him. That's a good example. Or where he said to the Pharisees, you know, you guys search the scriptures. You know, you don't understand. I'm right there all along, you know, that type of thing. So I'm trying to base the hermeneutic from Jesus himself. Doesn't mean we discount the Old Testament. It means we take the new covenant as priority to understand, because it's basically, you could look at it as essentially a divine commentary or interpretation of the Old Covenant scriptures that it comments on. So that's why I would say that. But okay, Zechariah 8.
Yeah, I would like to know how you filter that through Christ.
The whole chapter, or you got maybe a verse in mind?
The chapter entirely, I would like to look at. You know, the way I would approach it is how did or when did verses 1 through 4 come to pass? That's where I would want to start.
All right. Well, obviously, it's future from there. I mean, ultimately, I think I would usually say something along the lines of, you know, this is the final kingdom as far as what we're really looking at. 8:1. And the word of the Lord of hosts came, saying, thus says the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Zion with great jealousy. And I am jealous for her with great wrath. Thus says the Lord, I have returned to Zion and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. So that's being shown, being fulfilled in the book of Revelation, right? Where you have Yahweh saying, I'm dwelling in the midst of the city, right? He's right there in the middle, and it says he will be with his people and the people will be with him. So that's why I would point, when I said the final kingdom, the final state of things, you see this kind of same language being employed in Revelation. So that's when it's going to be fulfilled. And the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain, thus says, I skipped a verse. Hold on. Wait, did I skip a return to all in the midst? And Jerusalem shall be called faithful city, the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. Thus says the Lord of hosts, old men and old women shall again sit in the streets of Jerusalem, each with staff in hand because of great age. And the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in its streets. Thus says the Lord of hosts, if it is marvelous in the sight of the remnant of his people in those days, should it also be marvelous in my sight, declares the Lord of hosts. Thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country, from the west country, and I will bring them to dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God in faithfulness and in righteousness. Shout out to Larry Love for the super chat for the birthday. Thank you. And Faith Refined by Fire, and also Tiffany Black and Doki Doki. I didn't get to you guys yet, but I appreciate you. Okay, so I'm listening. If there's something different that you want to look at, or you're saying something different other than at the end, because I see the similarities with the book of Revelation and the language that's being employed. Do you want me to show you where?
I see that in the book of Revelation as well. I know. I see it even in Revelation 22. I see it beginning, kind of unraveling there. It's taking more of a position where now Jerusalem is beginning to govern the nation from this position. When you read down to the end of the chapter we're looking at, that's when you kind of see the trees bearing 12 manner of fruit, whose leaves are for the healing of the nations. But before we get all the way there, I know usually you don't take much of a literal position when it comes to Jerusalem. So I wanted to see how you would navigate that with the end time connotation attached.
Yeah, I would.
Verses 1 through 4.
I would bring
Smoked effort. What that means? Smoked effort. What does that mean? They might throw rocks, but my people will turn around and sell the rock that was thrown to their own people.
Up, if we're going to talk about the sort of the final of these things, this is where I would talk about heavenly Jerusalem. That's where that would come into play. Which Revelation, of course, calls it the New Jerusalem. So that would be in Hebrews 12. Why I would have that concept as far as this idea of a heavenly Jerusalem, and so this is basically heaven coming to earth. Now, Old Testament prophecy uses the language and imagery a lot of times that the people there will be able to understand. And, Christ hadn't come yet. Messiah hadn't come yet. There's a lot of things that hadn't happened yet. And so it's being described in that way. For example, the idea of old age, that's even greater, of course, in the final kingdom because it's eternal. But the emphasis would be Hebrews 12. And we can go back to Zechariah 8, but you said you don't take it literal. If you mean by Jerusalem in the sense in which I think you mean, then yeah, I guess I wouldn't be taking it. So like Hebrews 12:22, you have come to Mount Zion and the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to innumerable angels in feastal gathering, and to the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. So that would be where I would get that, as well as, to an extent, some of the metaphors that Paul makes in relationship to this.
But you do, I just want to make sure I understand, you do hold to the position that this is talking about heaven come to earth?
Yeah, because, you have Old Testament. I would say that basically you could say it that way, because you have here it's described as a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Well, that's only going to be God's kingdom. But you also have this in a new covenant context. Yeah.
I want you to understand that's the dagger right there. Once you acknowledge that it's heaven come to earth, that's the important dagger right there. Because we'd had a previous conversation and he tried to unphysical the kingdom of heaven. He does a little bit of what I kind of took it as clean up. I feel like I understand his argument. His position is that when we look at the kingdom on earth, he thinks that our values don't play into his picture of heaven. And, the further we talk about it, I let him know is because he thinks that the kingdom of heaven is for everybody. And we'll see that unfold as the conversation plays out. But just, keep your ear tuned to that. He has to admit that this is heaven on earth. If it's heaven on earth and, people are still abiding in their flesh, then certain fleshly things are still going to be of some relativity, That being said, I'm going to continue the footage, man. If you're just coming in, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. It says that we 65 strong right now. The likes should be up. Get the likes up. I'll stop the footage right now because it get good. There's a little bit of a delay. So my apologies for that. It was nothing I could do about it. We got to get them onto some better streaming software, something like a StreamYard or something like that. But likes, share, subscribe, get this out there. The nation need to see this dialogue. This is how you do it.
At the description, say in Hebrews 12, of course, is drawing on Old Testament imagery, just like we saw in Zechariah 8. It's so to paint the picture of what the new heavenly Zion will be like. It uses Old Testament imagery, no doubt about that. And so even now, Christians have access to an invisible spiritual realm that's into the heavenly Jerusalem, but there's going to come a time where it would be direct participation when heaven comes to earth, and then you're going to have this great assembly of those who have died in faith and are already in God's presence, the living God, plus those who are now with him forever that were alive when he sets all this up. So this is done through Christ. That's where I would go and say, that can never be a missing piece. If it's a missing piece, then the understanding it will be incomplete. And in Hebrews 12, Christ is explicitly brought out. So this is a new covenant reality. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I agree. Christ has to be in this picture in order for this to take place, because I do believe there's an end time connotation in this text. Shout out to Baby, though. Shout out to Ahsh Rawchaa in the building. If you ordering tassels from Bucarco, she the one making the damn thing. So shout out to that sister. Make sure you thank her. When I talk about Bucarco, I'm talking about these right here. Well, if you ever bought some of this fire She's the one laboring her hands to do that. She's doing them all day. Sometimes she do about 15, 16 orders a day. And it ain't an easy task. So shout out to Baby, man. She's definitely a good example of what you would want in a wife. She's an industrious woman. She's a virtuous woman. Look at these. Fire. I'm going to drop the link to Bacarco in the chat. Maybe she'll do it when she got some time, because she's definitely in here with her curly headed self. But take a look at these, man. Get your drip together. Purchase you some of these. Some of the foremost fringes in the nation, in my opinion. It's all I wear. And it's not because I get them at the family discount. It's because they're fire. That being said, let me see. You ever tried Prism streaming? I'm gonna have to look at it. You got any insight about it for me? The Prism streaming, is it that new-ish? Is it that fire? Shout out to Keith Kirkland, man. Shout out to Joshua Flores, Victor Avila, King Couture, as usual. Kanye Israel, Smoked Effort. I appreciate y'all for being in here. Shout out to y'all. All praises, all praises. King Couture said he spun the block and came over there before he even knew that they were connected to this household. That's how you know they fired. He ain't just buying them as somebody who liked the content. He just liked the tassels. All praises. Shout out to Yaquab in the building. Yeah, get your fringes on, man. That's for real. Race wars is coming, and we need to know who went the fuck up. That's a good sentiment right there. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't want to have to cock back on you. If you got the fringes on, I'll know better. Because you might be really light-skinned, psych, I'm playing. Joshua Flores, he's funny. Issachar's in the building. That's how you know it's Issachar. Issachar got jokes. Let me see, man. Yahanan, Israel, Shalom, man. Shalom. We're going to keep this going. I believe this is where we start to see Revelation 5 and 10, or 5 and 9, where it says, and they sung a new song, thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof, and thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and has made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign in the earth. So I do believe this is what we're looking at when we're reading verses 1 through 4. I believe it carries through the end of the text as well. I just wanted to see if we see eye to eye on that, because I know that we had a conversation in the past, and you said that we are looking for more of a temporal kingdom when we should be looking at something else. I don't know if you want to clarify.
Yeah, where, for example, this is more talking to a one Wester. Earlier I talked to a guy named Super Priest. He was a Old Testament only, Tanakh only Hebrew Israelite. So his position may be somewhat different. I don't know exactly. We didn't get to have an extended conversation, but especially with the one Wester, the idea is, okay, look, you've had these other nations, principally you've had Edom and Ishmael, for example, will be brought out often. You had these other nations, and they've enslaved us. They've done these things to us in the past, and they're doing these things to us currently. And it's all upside down. But in the future, it's going to be like that, except we're going to be on top where we should be, restored for our rightful place. And so it's basically a very fleshly or temporal based in its imagination and its expectation and its purpose and design, because it's very similar to this earth in a way that is basically easy to imagine if you're just thinking through, for lack of a better word, through the eyes of the flesh. Whereas the permanent...
Hey, Shemaiah Israel, thank you for asking. I did just drop the link in there. It's a big link too. I don't know why it looked like that, Salaki, but click that for sure. It'll definitely take you right there to the Etsy shop. Take you right there to the Etsy shop. Hey, look at his face on how the screen is frozen. I feel like that says it all right there.
State is not spoke of that way. For example, our activities, as far as heavenly activities, which takes place here on earth, not up there in space. That's not what Christians believe, even if that's portrayed.
Now, I'm glad he clarified that, because the last time I talked to him, I said, man, it sounded like you describing it sounded like you expect a big Disneyland castle to come out the sky and just land on the earth, and all of a sudden that's the kingdom of heaven. So I'm glad he clarified that. We are talking about a physical kingdom. Shemaiah, Israel, of course, are yonder bar. Hey man, no rush, man. You get what you need, King. Get what you need, and all in due time, Lord willing. Hey, yeah, these Christians all sound jealous. It's like, if I can't get it, then to hell with it. Israel done away with it. If y'all came in late, you didn't hear the preview to the debate that's coming up on the 5th of December, where the Christian pastor said he kills Israelites. He said he kills natural Jews. He hates natural Jews. He's probably a Jew himself. He hates himself. Captain Azariah is in the building. Shalom, shalom to that brother, the mighty captain. There's going to be some content coming from him real soon. You can expect big things from that brother, Lord willing. We have it our way. We either up out of here or we bring in more edification as the days go by, man. Trey's in the building. It's good to see you again, family. Like, share, and subscribe if y'all haven't already. We just getting started. This is about an hour-long dialogue. And of course, if there's any Christians in the building that want to run a fade real quick, we can do that. And of course, if you're a Christian that want to set up a formal debate, if you're willing to take it up, we want to talk about racist tenets in the Torah.
On a Hallmark card or something. The activities are not described in great detail. You get some activities described, but a lot of it seems to center around worship. Now,
a lot of it seems to center around worship. Oh, there's some activities described that ain't got nothing to do with worship, and it's for the Gentiles.
Is that all we're doing? I don't think so. But you don't have a lot of that. And the idea that, we would need these temporal things, it just doesn't make sense.
Why doesn't it make sense if the kingdom is on earth? What is temporal? What is temporal? Let's Google that. I'm going to share my screen. When he says these temporal things, it's relating to worldly as opposed to spiritual affairs or secular. Now, this is the part that I typically think of when somebody says temporal. I think about relating to time. When you deal with the physical, you start to deal with time because you have the decay of time, what do you call that shit? The law of thermodynamics and all that BS. But anyway, long story short, it's relating to worldly as opposed to spiritual affairs. But he said the kingdom is going to be in the earth. It's going to be in the physical world. So some of these things are going to be physical. We're going to need to eat. We're going to need to sleep. We're still going to have the sun, right? How do we know we're still going to have the sun despite the scripture that said the sun won't shine anymore and the moon won't give its light anymore? We know that's figurative speech because the scriptures tell us that during that time, the Gentiles who don't come up from year to year to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, ain't going to be no rain on their kingdom. They're going to experience drought. How do we know that? Because it talks about death taking place. Why? How do we know that? Because it talks about how we need plowmen and vine dressers, how we still need walls. Why do we need walls if we are just purely spiritual beings? You understand what I'm saying? These things are very important. Why do we need land, right? Why do we need our land to be extended? The scriptures say that our ancestors are going to say this land is too straight for us, meaning that when we get the Nile to the Euphrates, that land is going to get a little too tight because the scriptures say that we are going to be multiplied above our fathers. You understand what I'm saying? Furthermore, the whole reference of being circumcised in the heart, according to Deuteronomy 30, that's a very fleshly concept. We're going to be in the flesh, but we are going to walk in the spirit.
right? Because we are going to be changed in that regard. These are very temporal references. So where the disconnect is that, well, God damn it, the things that don't pertain to you because you're a Gentile, you separate yourself from when you read the prophecy, and so that you just don't know. And so we got to read scriptures like Zechariah, the 8th chapter, and we got to break it down and see if you are able to match it up with your worldview. And if you don't, it's because your worldview is wrong. Quiet as it's kept. And that's the spirit that I want you to keep when you talk to these Christians, no matter how good their breakdown is. We're the ones that had a faith in the correct thing. So don't let them shake you. They'll never break you. Oh man, is this my beloved brother, the sergeant? Is that the sergeant? Is that my brother Yatab in the building? If that's you, man, I wanted to text you this video and let you know about this footage. Shit, I was supposed to hit you up yesterday and see if you was about to watch that Tyson fight, but I'm preparing for this debate, God. I'm definitely gonna have to talk to you soon, man. I gotta hear your voice, man. That's if anybody knows anything, man. I started at the School of Sakari in Seattle, and this brother right here, Sergeant Yatab, had a lot to do with me becoming the brother that I am right now. I was a lot more hot-headed, a lot less level-headed, that's for sure. And I wouldn't be able to dialogue in the way that I am now if I didn't have Big Bro to say, hey, you got to learn to calm the hell down. Because he'll tell you, I used to run the Christians down the damn block quick. It was on accident a lot of times. I just didn't know how to temper my spirit yet. So I owe a lot to that brother, and I thank the Most High for sending him my way and allowing me to learn up under that brother's wing. Matter of fact, we're not hitting play on this video until y'all click on this brother's profile and go subscribe to that channel. I'm gonna put it in the chat right now. Let me see. YouTube. We're gonna find that. We're gonna find that link. We're going to find that link. RDM Slim's live right now, too. Let me see. Very classic shit right here. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know about the Sakari Seattle. Seattle's crazy. It take a special kind of Israelite to do the work in Seattle. Seattle is like Gotham City. But look, man, this is classic footage. You got the brother Kasha, all out here. This was a cool day. We was out in Tacoma. The sergeant was cooking his white lady, had her rethinking life. All praises to the Most High. Let me see if I can find some classic footage. Let me see. Man, they've been putting in work. You got to go way back to see me. You got to go way back to see me. This is the brother right here, man. Sergeant Yatab. Funny brother, too. Man, good times. Where my ugly ass at? Here I go. Spazzing on somebody, probably. But I'll be able to look over and have Big Bro looking over the situation, making sure I'm in order, man. All praises. We all need that too, which is why you should definitely get with a camp, get with a body, join a ministry, because that brotherhood is going to help you grow. That accountability is going to help mold you into what the Most High wants you to be. You just cannot do it by yourself. Quiet as it's kept. Even if you're going to hit the streets by yourself, you need to have some brothers around you in some capacity, whether it's a phone call away. So don't estrange yourself from the brothers. Let's get back to this footage, though. Did y'all click that link? Did y'all click that fucking link? Because we can't even go no further if y'all didn't click the Sakari Seattle link. You wanna come on the live, Sarge, and cook about this footage? Let me know, man. I'd love to have you on here.
The new kingdom, because for example, we can't die. We're not going to be able to die. Who knows if we'll literally be clothed or not? Because if we're like in an Edenic state, we'll be in a state
of course,
that
brother.
is superior to Adam and Eve, actually. So even more than what they were in Eden. So the idea of like, you know, you're going to pick my cotton and process it, it may not even be a necessity in the kingdom, just like eating may not. Now, those may be able to things we could engage in nonetheless, sort of for pleasure or enjoyment. Don't know. But when I talk to one Westerners, it sounds all very physical and temporal.
Let me help you understand something, y'all. The Most High said he's going to multiply us above our fathers. We're not going to be hopping out of goddamn Easter eggs. So there's going to be some pleasure and some enjoyment. There's going to be feast days. So there's going to be some enjoyment. You understand what I'm saying? There's going to be enjoyment in the kingdom. Trust me.
It just sounds like, hey, slavery's not wrong. It's just that we need to be the slave masters. And it's like, well, okay, that sounds like something someone who's entrapped in flesh would say. That doesn't sound like something that whose eyes are set on the Prince of Peace would say, though. So that's what I mean by temporal. I mean, it's based.
These are straw man arguments too. He said that we typically take the position of slavery is wrong, but we should be the slaves. I told him slavery ain't wrong. I told him, Lord willing, I'll have slaves in the kingdom. That's not the stance of somebody who thinks slavery is wrong. Well, we're trying to teach, and the objection that we have is that our enemies had us in slavery. Of course, it's that we're the ones that's supposed to be on top, right? But not that slavery is wrong. So you know, I wish that Christians would speak a lot more carefully when they try to run down our arguments, because it does start to come off as disingenuous, because then they're trying to rebut us based off of these weird ass analysis of our doctrine.
Based upon notions and power dynamics of this earth. But the power dynamics of the kingdom that Jesus lays out are radically different than that, Ash. And the best place to see that is the Sermon on the Mount. That's not the only place. But this is Jesus himself saying things that shift the whole idea about this earthly power dynamic. You know, those who suffer, and the meek shall inherit the earth. So it's much bigger than Israel or Jerusalem. You see the kingdom ethics that are very based upon service and love for the other, even love for someone's enemy. Now, obviously, I'm not saying I achieve that, or any Christian always achieves that. But the question is that the goal? But a One West goal sounds like the goal is to have a whip in their hand, in some scenarios to have actual sex slaves. I don't know your position on that. And it just sounds somewhat similar to what I heard when I studied Islam. You know, a very temporal, fleshly based kingdom. And I'm just like, I don't mind serving in heaven, but the idea is we're serving God. But a lot of One Westers, they want the service to be to themselves. And that just doesn't sound like the attitude of Christ that comes out at all. Because my hope is to bow down before him.
Yeah. So that's a good thing to harp on. And what I would say it is fear. You know, I think that's the gasoline in this tank right there, is fear as far as coming against the Israelites. If I could do something to stop what they're doing, then I can prove that what they're doing is fake. You know what I'm saying? You want to take matters into your own hand because you don't want to go into captivity. You know, somewhere out there, the nations are feeling it when we say y'all going into slavery. If there's any chance that's true, you better believe that's taking away a little bit of sleep at night. Especially when they see the way we looking at them when they pull up on us and they're talking to us on the street corners. That's why they try to get it all out of their system right then and there. But then the ones that really feel it, they're the quietest ones, because they're like, shit, I don't want him to remember me in that fateful day. So, you know, it's definitely a fixation on that part. It's his main point of attack. The last time we had a conversation, you know, he brought up how it says in the kingdom of heaven, there's not going to be any tears, right? But that's not talking to everybody. You got to rightfully divide the word. And let's just go to a prime example real quick. We'll go to Jeremiah 30. You read Jeremiah 30 to Jeremiah 31. It's not changing subjects. It's literally all talking about the salvation of Israel from chapter 30 to chapter 31. But the interesting thing about chapter 30 is it tells you that the Israelites is going to be delivered. And it tells you, you know what, about the so-called Gentiles. Let me pull up that verse, that chapter. Here's the gas. So it says, we'll start at verse 3. It says, for lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I'll bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith the Lord. I will cause them to return to the land that I gave their fathers, and they shall possess it. His stance of, oh, well, it says nice things are going to take place in the kingdom of heaven. That doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to take place for other people. Because look, if I take that position when I look at Jeremiah 30, where it says, for lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I'll bring the captivity of my people Israel and Judah. And somebody tries to tell me it's going to be a voice of trembling and not of peace. And I choose to just cling on to one verse that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. And I take the position that, but it says, oh, you know, he's going to cause us to return to the land. How can it be a voice of trembling and not of peace? Well, there's a narrative that need to play out, Dumbo. That's what you would say to me if I took that position. And it's the same for these Christians. This is not a verse by verse basis. They accuse us of cherry picking, but this is how it really plays out. So while there's a good thing being said about us, it says we got to go through some horrible shit to get there. It says, ask ye now in verse 6 and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hand on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he will be saved out of it. So what's the moral to the story? Is that if you're going to read about a particular situation occurring, you need to put your goddamn seatbelt on and make sure you read it through. We go down to verse 8. It says, for it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and I will brace thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. A Christian could easily read themselves in here and be like, oh, well, you know, I'm a spiritual Israelite, and the yoke's going to be burst from off my neck because I'm in bondage to sin. No, shut the fuck up. It says Jacob's trouble, and he shall be saved out of it. Right? And notice they always claim to be spiritual Israel. Nobody claims to be spiritually Jacob. That's another red flag. But it says, but they shall serve the Lord their God, and David their king. Right? He just said, they serve us. Watch this. Is whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be at rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered thee. So here it is, it's talking about salvation. I can't just say, well, this, you know, it says Jacob's going to be saved. It doesn't mean other nations aren't going to be destroyed. There is a whole narrative playing out. Yet I will make a full end. Yet I will not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Watch this. It says in verse 16, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity. We don't get to just forget about these verses because it says some pleasant things are going to take place in the kingdom of heaven. And, you know, when I talk to Christians, I let them know we use a process of elimination. And we're able to do that because we have read the things that have been said aforetime. They start at the end of the book and they read these things that say all men. They read these things that say Gentiles, and they just assume it's talking about them. We're able to use the process of elimination with respect to the fact that if a prophet says a thing and it don't come to pass, they're a false prophet. We get to look at the fact that these prophets that are in this canon that we look at today have said things that have come to pass. Therefore, we look at them with respect, and we expect the rest of the things they say to come to pass. They don't have that respect. And this is where the flaws in their logic come from. They don't have the process of elimination. Why can I eliminate a Gentile from salvation? Well, because the prophets already did it for me. If for us it's a duh, for them it's a, oh, well, that's debatable. So, it's our responsibility to stand on these principles as well. I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord. Because they call thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion who no man seeketh after. Let's go back to the footage, man. We got a long way to go.
When I talk to One Westers, their hope is that someone else will bow down before them, not that they'll be bowing down before Christ. Now, they may think that somewhere in the back of their mind, but Lord knows I never hear them say it. The emphasis is all about other people bowing to them. And that's why you have UPK do the boot kiss as a harbinger to that reality. Any fleshly man could get excited about that. You don't have to be born again to want that. You know what I mean? That's what they make movies about, people that have that kind of power and access. It's a very temporal based ethic and understanding of what the kingdom would be. So that's why I said that. So yeah, that's my follow up on that.
So you've called it out very well. I kind of feel like there's a problem with hijacking. And when I say that, I mean the use of the word we.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think there's a we with regards to everybody living forever. You know what I mean? I do believe in eternal life. I do believe that there's a place for that. I do believe there's an understanding for that. For example, I don't believe a man will live to be 1,000,000 years old. I think men will live out their 1,000 years like Adam was designed to do. For example, you look at passages like Isaiah 56:20, it says that, the baby will die at 100 years old. So there's a precedence for somebody to believe that there will be some form of death during this time. But the we is my biggest issue. I don't think that is for everybody. And I don't believe that the dominion is for everybody. In fact, the dominion is given to those that keep Christ's works until the end. Of course, there's a ton of back and forth on what those works are. I'm on the side that believes that if you keep the commandments in faith without somebody watching you, making sure you're not breaking the Sabbath, you're actually being faithful to God and enduring to the end. And in that, you're promised that, and he that overcometh and keep my works to the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my Father. And that's a part of that inheritance that we hope for, that comes with the New Testament written in his blood, right? So there is a temporal aspect to it. I think there's a lot of proof work that needs to be done that it won't be there. You read not only Isaiah 65, you read Isaiah 56. It does mention that the nations will come and, bow before the Lord. The nations will come and, worship before the Lord. They'll be welcome in his house. These things are great, but that's not dominion. There's a distinction that needs to be made. I believe that the Israelites are the ones that are going to get the dominion, and the other nations are going to get an opportunity to learn the ways of the Lord. But before we deviate too far, I want to just kind of use Zechariah 8 to illustrate that. But I want your interpretation of verses 20 through 23, because it speaks on this a little further. I wanted to see how you kind of filter this through Christ using your methodology. And I want to see if we see eye to eye, or if, there's room for edification on that. And then we can go to other texts too.
Right. Well, as far as, saying we, when I say we, I don't mean Christians and Hebrew Israelites. So I don't mean, at least in this current context, you and me. I mean, just like Christians have always used that, as the people of God for Christians. When you say we, you believe you're referring to the house of Israel, of which you believe you belong. So our referent to we is radically different. You know what I'm saying? You're thinking of one set. I'm thinking of it. So I'm not, when I say we, just like you're not including me, I'm not including you. Not as a personal thing, just in the current context. Right. Firstly, then as far as, the nature of the kingdom, you know, 1 Corinthians 15 talks about we're going to put on flesh. It's not corruptible. It's imperishable. And let's say you think, well, okay, what you can think of whatever you mean by the we there. That's fine. But the question is, what would that mean? Well, that's a life that doesn't end. That's eternal life. The thing with the annihilation doctrine that Hebrew Israelites hold, it's actually an old doctrine that a lot of Christians have glommed onto.
This part is interesting right here. He's going to make a declarative statement, and he's going to make it firmly. And watch how he reacts to the correction.
Specifically and especially out of the European context. Now, they don't do it based upon ethnicity like you would, because I understand as a one Wester, you're saying at the end of the 1,000 years in which we rule and reign, those who descend from the house of Edom, including Amalekites especially, this is me saying what you would hold to as a one Wester, they will then be annihilated and cease to exist. The only place you could see them is in a museum, that type of thing. Okay. That doctrine of annihilation, in which persons actually cease to exist, that's something evangelicals have been condemning, albeit not with the race element or the ethnic element that you're bringing in, but the idea that there would be the souls of the wicked will actually be vanquished out, Thanos snapped out, and they'll cease to exist with no returning. That's properly called annihilationism. Other groups have brought annihilationism into evangelical and conservative theological folds, most often to be rejected. A prominent example, maybe some of the live chat would know, is John Stott. John Stott's a great commentator, great preacher. He was an annihilationist. A lot more of the British Christians, even of the conservative type, actually held to annihilationism for all the wicked. And they see it differently than you, Ash. They see it as some way to kind of preserve God's fairness or kindness. He wouldn't have people being eternally consciously tormented. But the question is, what does the doctrine really say? So even the idea of whoever it is, I understand you're saying it's Edom, whoever would be eternally annihilated, the whole idea, I'm going to argue, is not found in Scripture in the first place. No one's going to be permanently annihilated. And that's what makes hell such a concern and hurts the heart to think about people being there, and it's a place you don't want to go, because it's eternal, it's conscious, and it's torment. Those elements of experiencing the wrath of God in a very direct way, in which you're fully aware of, make it someplace that you would not want to be. So our understanding of the state of affairs for the wicked, I would say, is much worse than the One West view. When I say worse, I mean it's more severe in God's punishment upon sin. Because if you're a slave, Ash, or a subservient citizen after the millennium, and you're understanding, well, at least you're alive, getting to hang out, whatever, right? Hell is much worse than that, because it's eternal conscious torment. So even taking away the ethnic element, we're going to have a radically different understanding, because I would challenge someone to show me, where do you see wicked ever being permanently vanquished?
He's reading, we're going into Zechariah, the 8th chapter. He's just going a long roundabout way to get to the conclusion. Exactly. They get the crumbs that fall from the table. That'd be good enough if they wasn't arrogant enough to think they get salvation along with us, but that's what Christianity has done, and we're going to touch on that a little bit too. And Yahanan Israel, exactly. That's the only explanation. That's the only explanation.
Out of existence. You don't see that. God never undoes the creation in that way. It's not in the Scripture. That's why the Bible says.
I'd like to
say what? I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
I would like to raise my hand and take you up on that challenge. I was saying I'd like to take you up on that challenge. You said we don't see it, even with nations like Babylon. You would probably take the stance that it's ancient Babylon. I would take the stance that it's modern day Babylon. When you look at Isaiah 14:21, watch this. I believe it's much more fair to say you have a different way of looking at it than to say that it's not seen in scriptures, right? We're going to talk about lineage. From that stance, a lineage is carried on by one's children. But if someone's children are eliminated, then what? Their nation discontinued. So Isaiah 14:21 says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord. So to say we don't see it is unfair. To say that, there's a methodology we can employ to, maybe find another understanding, I feel like that's more fair. But we do see annihilation all throughout the scriptures. If not, I would ask you how you look at what took place during the events of Noah's story. Dagger. Because every Christian believes in what happened with Noah. Am I right or am I wrong? We all come from Adam. We all come from Noah. Everybody knows that. How do you explain that if it's not an nihilistic tale? You understand what I'm saying? So you could say what you want about how we view the prophecy, and you could try to stall us on how we view the prophecy, saying that new nations is going to be annihilated, but it's a dagger. You got to account for what happened with Noah. Fundamentals, my man, fundamentals. And this is what happens when we're too far ahead of y'all, leaps and bounds wise, and we're stretching y'all beyond your limits, because when you study, you really only studying the dumbass doctrine that you already have, not the text. You're not trying to look into the historical narrative outside of the text. You think the text takes place in a vacuum. You don't try to understand what's being said beyond your doctrine to see if maybe I could be wrong when it comes to this word Gentile. We're going to touch on that, but that's what happens. You lose track of those fundamentals, and then you slip up and say something that puts you in a box. He put himself in a box by saying that there's no nihilistic view expressed in the text. Let's just run that back a little bit. Like, share, and subscribe, because we almost halfway through this footage. Like, share, and subscribe. And meanwhile, make sure that y'all ready for this debate on Straight Talk with Trevor. I'm gonna drop the link to it again. Make sure that y'all get ready for this debate. It's coming December the 5th, 6 p.m. East Coast time. That's gonna be 3 p.m. my time. What time is that gonna be where you're at? Make sure that y'all get ready for that. It's gonna be a good one. I'm about to put a Christian in a body bag. Y'all gonna see Brother Ahsh Rawchaa actually debate for the first time in my whole ministry, in my whole walk. You're gonna see me debate, and it's gonna be a sight to see. I'm talking about spankings handing out. It continued. So Isaiah 14:21 says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord. So to say we don't see it is unfair. To say that, there's a methodology we can employ to, maybe find another understanding, I feel like that's more fair. But we do see annihilation all throughout the scriptures. If not, I would ask you how you look at what took place during the events of Noah's story arc.
Right. So
but I want to get back to Zechariah.
Okay, we could do that. So when I say annihilation, I don't mean destruction. I'm saying, like, with a capital A, the doctrine of annihilationism, where persons who once existed, literally, they cease to exist. I don't mean they die.
I mean, those people that existed during that time, they ceased from existing. They literally ceased to exist. And he did not entertain my question about what happened during Noah's story arc, right? Only people that survived was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. By the way, that link that I just dropped, man, make sure y'all go click that. That's the link to the debate. You got to make sure that you subscribe. You got to make sure you hit that notification bell. You got to make sure that you run up in there and show support. What I want y'all to do is go in there and put hashtag fire of God in the comments, right? Hashtag fire of God in the comments on that link right there. Back to it.
I mean, it's as if they had never been born, meaning the state that they now experience is that they have no personal identity. I don't mean that people won't be killed off. So the verse you read in Isaiah 14, Ahsh, is just saying that God's. God's going to bring a severe judgment upon Babylon, just like what it says, you can be cut off from Israel. That in certain contexts, that mean you could be essentially excommunicated from Israel. Other contexts, it might mean you're actually killed, cut off from the people. But it doesn't mean you cease to exist. And that's why, for example, what happens, even though it's done through witchcraft, Samuel is able to talk to Saul because Samuel still exists. He still has a personal identity. Now, you would say that's not relevant because he's not a heathen or something like that. But I'm saying that's an example of consciousness continuing after death, but it's that way for all people. And in the New Testament, for the wicked, I would go to the rich man. Now, I understand there's a lot of debate about that, but the rich man has consciousness after death while he's in Hades and looks up and says, hey, can you give me some water, Lazarus? Right? He's still conscious of his reality and he's in an unpleasant place. But what's so shocking is that's not the final place, because the Bible says Hades is going to be thrown into the lake of fire. So it's actually going to get worse for him after the great white throne judgment. And so when I say you don't see annihilation, I mean annihilationism, where people literally cease to exist. They have no more personal identity. I don't mean they won't be killed. You're absolutely right. In Genesis 6, Yahweh wiped out every living thing except for the ones on the ark. No doubt about that. I'm just saying those people don't cease to exist. They still exist, albeit in punishment. That's what I meant by that. Does that make sense? Because you believe that, like Edom, if a person's they will literally no longer exist after the 1,000 years, right? They will be nowhere, correct?
Their nations will disappear. So they'll stop filling the world with cities. So consciousness, our tradition is that consciousness is what happens when your spirit hits your body. It's a construct that revolves particularly around the animation of the flesh. So as far as consciousness is concerned, no, they won't be conscious anymore. Dang, King Couture said that YouTube unnotified him about the video. They hate me. Yeah, man, that's definitely a thing. I've had to resubscribe to even Sergeant's channel. We was just talking earlier, Sergeant Guitar. I've even had to resubscribe to his channel. Thank you all for going through there and doing that. Man, we're going to pull up like Israelites pull up. You know what I'm saying? We're going to walk in 70 and we're going to walk out a few 100,000. More, they will die, their spirits will go back to the Father. They just will cease from carrying on as a nation. That's our stance.
You said
I don't believe that their spirits will be obliterated or anything like that.
So help me. When you said their spirits go back to the Father, you're saying that you'll have disembodied Edomites in the presence of the Father for all eternity? I'm not sure. I don't know if I followed that.
Let me see if I could pull up a reference. So Ecclesiastes 12 and 7 is where I get this thought process from, where it says, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. So I believe this is the fate of all spirits, regardless of what you've done in life, if that makes sense. Your judgment is what happens when you're reborn again. What we're saying is that Edom will not have a place in the earth again. We don't believe there will be a use for his nation anymore. They're going to serve a certain level of captivity, but they're going to die out, never to fill the faces of the earth with cities anymore after whatever set amount of time God has in store for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of nations that have discontinued. Where are the Hittites, for example? Where are the Jebusites? Where are the, Girgashites? They're no longer around as a distinct people. Now, they may have got people pregnant, and so you could have someone who has, mild traces or faint traces of their genetics as they walk around the Middle East or wherever they're walking around at. But they wouldn't be understood as that distinct people because they've been obliterated, assimilated, amalgamated, these distinct people groups that we no longer have any way to connect them to the ancient people that once existed. So as far as distinct people groups, they certainly can cease to exist. I would hold that's exactly what happened to Edom, of course. I view it as a great apologetic point to unbelievers to say, look at these prophecies against Edom. This happened. This is proof, one more proof of the Bible's accuracy. You guys would say, as one Westerners, no, it didn't happen yet, but we know it will happen over here, but we also have a different understanding of what Edom is as well. And so there's multiple differences there. But we also have different views of the afterlife in its entirety. It seems, about what's going to happen afterwards. Because
Yeah.
but the last thing you're saying that the spirits of Edomites will dwell with the Father, or will they be self-aware?
No, they won't be self-aware.
Okay, so they won't be self-aware. But then, how are they? What are they? If they're dwelling with the Father,
they're just the little pieces of essence that God gave to animate the fleshly vessels that they operated while they were here. Just like any spirit is, everybody has a little essence of the Father, and we all exist because of that essence. I believe that's all a spirit is. Even if you look scientifically, energy coming down and going back up again, you can see it using empirical data. So all that's going to happen is those vessels will cease to exist. Those spirits will go back where they belong as a part of the Father. That's what death is, as far as how I look at it. I don't see anything that tells me otherwise. I know you made the example of Samuel, and that is an interesting aspect of the scriptures. And I'd have to say it does clash with, what I believe. So, it's one of those things that it's Vocab believes the Edomites don't exist anymore. He believes the Edomites don't exist anymore. And that was something I wanted to get around to, because he believes they're extinct. But the problem with that is the people that profess to be Edomites, we don't see that. But what we do see, that there was a large conversion of Edomites into Judaism towards the founding of the Hasmonean dynasty. We see that there was a whole bunch of Edomites fighting with the Jews during the events of 70 AD. And, those people getting killed, taken captive, and blah, blah, blah. There's Edomites amongst the people we believe Israelites today, just based off of that historical narrative alone. Right. So just based off of those principles, the Edomites still have to exist. But when you look at the way Rome was operating, and you look at the way they was naming their children, what you see is they was following what was called the cult of Kos. I do intend to do a presentation on that one day, but I'm one man. I can only do what I can do. But they were following what was called the cult of Kos. And so there were religious practices that rooted back to them deep Edomite ancestry, in a way that would present itself socially. Is some of them would have Kos somewhere in their name, even the ones that were in Roman government. So the Edomites existed, but he thinks they stopped existing after the 1st century. It's an impossibility. Yeah, but he has expressed this mysterious to me, as far as what you brought up about Samuel. But the scriptures, per Solomon, it does say, he'll probably say Jerusalem. I'm not sure though about who he believes Mystery Babylon is. That would be interesting to ask him. That the spirit, once the body dies, the body returns to the dust, and the spirit returns to the Father. Yeah, about King Herod, even if you look at his lineage, he challenged me. He asked me where proved there were any Edomites after the 1st century. And it's cold because Herod's lineage goes outside of the 1st century. So that's funny.
Okay.
I believe that.
All right, that's fair.
Because when you're a spirit, you're not in a tribe. Tribes are for the flesh. God's essence is God's essence. You understand what I'm saying? That's why. When you go back to the spirit world, you're not from the tribe of Judah. When you come back down, you're going to be inhabiting a Judite. It's like God didn't create that energy. He didn't give that part of himself and saying give it up forever. All the energy goes back to him because all energy is him. That's all. There will be no Edomites in heaven regardless.
Enough. Well, you said you wanted to finish off in Zach. Go ahead. Say what?
I wanted to say, I'm not just talking about people ceasing from being a distinguishable nation. I'm talking about the lineage. So lineage, you're going to come from your forefathers, whether you can recognize who they are or not. Hence our doctrine. You know, we don't understand our lineage. Now here we are stumbling upon some things that are spiritual that help us to identify who we are through our circumstances and the things that God said his children would do in the last days. So the lineage discontinuing is that people group no longer populating the earth, not necessarily them taking on the identity of that people group. For example, the Canaanites do still exist. You look at Zechariah 14:21, it says, yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all they that sacrifice come and take of them and feed therein. And in that day there shall no more be Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Now, part of this is because we did not kill all of the Canaanites when we went into the land in the first place, right? But just because people do not take on the name Canaanite anymore or identify themselves as such doesn't mean anything, because we see that there is a group of Canaanites that are even meshed in with the children of Israel. You see what I mean? So they would have dwelled with them and been amalgamated into their society in some capacity.
Okay.
So that's something that has to end someday. So it's not necessarily the discontinuance of identity. It's that those people will no longer return to wreak havoc in the earth anymore.
Gotcha. Real quick shout out to Radar Apologetics for the super chat. Thank you, sir. For James G, thank you, sir. And for Yandel, thank you, sir. Every single one of you.
If anybody deals with Radar Apologetics or has his ear, man, let him know. I definitely would want to shoot the fade with him on racist tenets in the Torah. That would be an excellent debate. We could do that formally. He could choose the platform. Yeah.
Much love. Okay, so we were kind of talking about that because you went to Zechariah 8, but if we go back to Zechariah 8 so we can make sure we talk about it before we stop, you're saying how would I take verses starting in verse 20? I believe that's where you wanted to pick up at.
Yeah, 20 through 23. I wanted to kind of watch your methodology in action.
All right, let me see if I can put this on the screen here. Guys, I'm going to try to put this on the screen so you can see it. Just give me a second. I got the iPad up. And thank you also, J3. Thank you very much. Okay, let me see here. Let me try to... I'm gonna put it on the screen so that everyone can see what we're looking at here. If I can, will this work? Please work here. Okay, no, I don't want to show myself. I want to show the Bible. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. But now I need to delete this. Okay, so here's what he's talking about. We're in Zechariah 8. I have the LSB. You guys don't have to use the LSB, obviously, and it's Ash we can read out of another translation if anybody wants, but on the screen you guys can see it. I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger, and let's take a look here. Just 1 second, make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, all right. Now let's take a look at Zechariah 8, specifically verse 20 here. Wait, oh, there we go. Okay. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, it will be that peoples will come, even the inhabitants of many cities. All right. Verse 21, the inhabitants of one will go to another, saying, let us go at once to entreat the favor of Yahweh and to seek Yahweh of hosts. I will also go. So many peoples and mighty nations will come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem and to entreat the favor of Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, in those days 10 men from every tongue of the nations will take hold of the garment of a Jew, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these I would say the main essence of this is a universal longing for God that is prophesied and predicted in the future. Now, that's significant, of course, because there is obviously not a universal longing for God right now on this planet, on this side of things. That is not the way things are. But Zechariah 8, I would say the emphasis here is a universal longing for God that is being portrayed. Now, that this would happen was announced back in Zechariah 2:11. So this is kind of the conclusion that had already got announced. Zechariah 2:11 says, many nations will join themselves to Yahweh in that day and will become my people. That's going to be a key interpretive element for me. Then I will dwell in your midst, and you will know that Yahweh of hosts has sent me to you. So remember, the announcement of Zechariah 2:11 is key to understand the fulfillment that is fleshed out here in 8:20 through 23. So many nations will join themselves to Yahweh. That gets taken up, that gets expanded, and it really is the conclusion of the book, which started in 2:11. Let me real quick show 2:11 on the screen so people can understand what I'm saying by that real quick. 2:11. Okay. So just if you're wondering what was he talking about, well, there's 2:11 right there. Okay. Let me highlight it so you can see what I'm saying. So he asked about Zechariah 8. So one thing that I'm doing, because he says he wanted to see the process, is to go back to when this was announced. And that is announced there, and then it's shown in 8. So now I'm going to go back to where we were in 8. Okay. And look at verse 20 again. Wait, where'd it go? Zechariah. Oops. Let me just skip through it. Zechariah chapter 8. Verse 20 through 23. Okay, so you see this rallying point there, and you can see this huge procession, because what do people want to do? They want to find basically this secret of joy, the secret of gladness, the secret of truth, the secret of peace that God's people are enjoying. I would say there's similar prophetic passages in a few places, specifically Isaiah 2 through 4. That is similar as well. Micah 4, 1 through 5, and especially Isaiah 66, 18 through 21. So you see these similar visions in other contexts within the prophetic passages that describe some kind of future state that is clearly not realized yet. So these nations are going to seek God. And here's what's important about this, everybody. This doesn't come out of nowhere. This vision of these nations seeking God completes the purpose of the Abrahamic call. So Abrahamic call is Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So you basically see the completion of that call being played out in Zechariah 8. So what is the completion of the call? You see all nations of the earth being blessed. So yes, you have God's wrath and anger being turned towards Judah and Jerusalem earlier in this book in chapter 1, but God sees, the prophet Zechariah sees God's purpose still nonetheless in completing salvation. Now, who are the peoples there in verse 20? The peoples are other ethnic groups. The people are other nationalities. How do you know that? Well, the subsequent verses are going to show that, because they're inhabitants of distant cities. They're going to actually encourage each other to go find God. So they're going to serve as evangelists, as it were. They have an urgency to this journey. Let us go at once, right? And then they're setting the example. I'm going right now. And what are they going to do? Entreat the favor of the Lord. So these nations are going to, under Old Testament understanding, they would be entering into the temple and being part of the liturgy to approach the Lord. However, since this is understanding it through a new covenant lens, I don't believe that the story ends there, because Jesus is described as one greater than the temple. He's greater than the temple. What's the temple? The place where the presence of God is in its fullness, and the place where forgiveness of sin happens. Well, that doesn't happen in a place anymore. It happens in a person. And that actually harkens back to our discussion with the other gentleman about John chapter 4. There'll come a day where it's not about going to a certain temple or a certain a mountain or anything like that. It's going to be those who worship in spirit and truth. So this is, in essence, through a new covenant lens, is saying that they're going to enter into the new covenant via Christ. And I would say 2:11 again hints towards that, which I brought up in the beginning there. So this is a very fascinating thing when you put it all together. It's not as if Zechariah never has messages of condemnation for the nations. He does in chapter 1 and chapter 2. But you still see that God's intention is that people will be saved out of the nations. And so there's more I could say about that. Maybe there's at least one other thing I would say that you kind of see the beginnings of this, of verse 22, where you have, in Matthew chapter 2, the Magi coming to seek Jesus, these men from the east. You have the beginnings there, and then you see this played out even greater in the book of Acts. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. Now, as far as verse 23, this is something that's interesting that I should also bring up here, actually, because what do you have? 10 men. I believe that represents a complete group. The idea is nations of all tongues. That's often the way 10 is used. And what are they doing? They're recognizing that God is with his people. Right. They're recognizing that he's important and significant. So they come to where God is to seek the Lord. I would say this prophecy found its fulfillment in Acts chapter 2 on the day of Pentecost. That would be my contention about that, specifically because of the idea of the tongue there. And then, of course, they go out and they do the same thing. So this is not completed because the kingdom is not entirely established. Yahweh has not set up his permanent kingdom. That has not happened, but it is in process as you see the beginning there in Acts chapter 2. 10 men from every tongue of the nations will take hold of the garment of a Jew, saying, "Let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you." Now, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean you're literally going to have a Jew with 10 Gentiles holding onto his clothes while he's trying to walk? Or he's going to... Well, I think the point is the urgency of saying this is going to be people's actual desire. This is what they want. They are seeking relationship with God. And a way to show that would be by their clinging on to the only representative they would know in that context. So this is how Zechariah's people would understand it when they read, would be by a faithful representative of Yahweh, who would be a Jewish person then. But of course, in the new covenant context, what is this? This is people who want to hear the gospel from Christians. So this is in process, the evangelization mission that's in process. That's the essence of how I would interpret it. I got about 5 more minutes if you want to give your interpretation so you could have the final word. Is that okay?
He did not equate it to cleaving. He don't want to admit it, and that's the point of the title. He don't want to admit that you gotta learn through the Israelites. He don't want to admit it. I was surprised that he went as far as to say, people taking hold of like a faithful Jewish person. He squeezed that in real quick. So it was like a passive aggressive admission, but it wasn't direct. He didn't stand on it. He didn't say it with his chest. So I feel like what I'm going to do is every time I pull up to him and run up on him, I'm just going to squeeze on this subject matter through different prophecies.
Okay, or is there something else you wanted to get out of that?
Man, try to stretch it a little further for me if you could, because it's getting good. I don't believe that you see that he's like, man, we're here. You notice this is where he's drawing a line at. He's saying that you got to go pick somebody up, a family member is what he's gonna say. But I'm like, wow, what a coincidence! It takes this long to get to the end of Zechariah. Hey, I just wanted to quickly touch on these verses, and we went the long roundabout way to get this far. Now all of a sudden he got to leave. I find it funny because this is a great attack point. Once you got to admit that heaven is in the earth, once you got to admit that this is talking about Jewish people, I was surprised he did not say this is talking about Jesus. I was very surprised. I don't know if it was honesty in the sense where he knows for a fact, or if he's saying this is my guess that it's talking about a Jewish person, but I was surprised. But I'm like, how you gotta just get up out of there now? And I'm like, we just want to squeeze on this a little bit more. Could possibly coincide with the book of Acts at all. I think it coincides more with Isaiah.
The final word, is that okay, or is there something else you wanted to get out of that?
Man, Try to stretch it a little further for me if you could, because it's getting good. I don't believe that it could possibly coincide with the Book of Acts at all. I think it coincides more with Isaiah 2 and 3, where it says, "And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, the Torah, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." But there's a restorative aspect of Jerusalem that comes with it. I believe that is a restoration that's going to come after what took place in 70 AD. Verse 4 of Isaiah 2 goes on to say, "And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation." You see what I'm saying? So that can't be talking about the Book of Acts. At some point, the people are coming to Jerusalem to get this understanding. At some point, there's going to be some cleaving, and we just got to be honest about it. We got to start running from it. We got to stop playing like the Gentiles or some level to where they should be teaching anybody the scriptures. Y'all coming to us to learn this word, period. Neither shall they learn war anymore. I did hear you kind of preface your interpretation with, was it Zechariah 2?
Yeah, 2:11. Yes.
2:11. I believe that's actually talking about Israelites from a bunch of nations coming and being made the Lord's people again, just like Hosea talks about in different ways. But when I look at Zechariah 8 and 23, quiet as it's kept, I know a lot of people get hung up on the racist aspect. Me being a racist, I just prefer my people. And while I, you know what I'm saying, me being a racist, I can say this. I can say it with authority. I am a racist. I'm a fervent racist. I love my people, and everybody else gets third, fourth, and fifth place. They don't even get second place. You know what I'm saying? My people get first and second place. The ones that get second place are the ones of us that I can't stand, and even they get first place. But I'm going to go double back, and I'm going to give them second place as well when I'm having a hard time when they're in their first place position. You understand what I'm saying? And I think brothers that go and teach on the highways and byways understand what I'm saying. Some of your brothers and some of your sisters are just straight assholes. And, you know, they want to forsake you. They want to forsake the truth. And sometimes it's just a real FU coming from them. They get first and second place. You know what I'm saying? That's preserved for them. But the other nations get third, fourth. I want to see everybody cool. You know, I want to see the world at peace. I don't want to hear about people getting blown up across the world. That's troublesome. You know what I'm saying? I'd love to know that we got right and that we put the world on to what's going on with the Most High. You know, what better put on than putting them on to the truth? You know, like Arabia, they get bragging rights about putting the world on the oil. Fuck oil. You know, we putting the world on to the Most High, the most valuable, you know, and the doctrine is the most valuable substance known to man. It's from a bunch of nations coming and being made the Lord's people again, just like Hosea talks about in different ways. But when I look at Zechariah 8 and 23, quiet as it's kept, I know a lot of people get hung up on the racist aspect. Me being a racist, I just prefer my people. And while I do want a sense of justice, what I look forward to the most is this right here. It says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We'll go with you, for we have heard that God is with you." Why? Oh, I'm not going to look that day. I'm not going to be clocking in for the white man no more. I'm not going to be trying to worry about paying taxes, the rent, you name it. Instead, I'm going to be a priest of the Most High. Are you kidding me? What better occupation is there? So that's the day that I look forward to be a priest unto the Most High. The role that we were supposed to play from the beginning. You understand how valuable that is, how important that is, you know? And plus, that means I'll get to have plowmen and vine dressers. Because that means that there is going to be some form of tranquility coming into fruition. And there's going to be a sense of peace in the earth. You know, nation shall not learn war anymore. That's really what we want the most. Of course, there's the desire for the Lord to get vengeance upon the nations. That's undeniable. I saw somebody in the chat saying that, we try to hide our racism. I'm gonna be the first to say, look, I'm racist. I prefer my people. That doesn't mean that I have to hate everybody. It doesn't mean that I have to go out of my way to take a poop on somebody's ice cream sundae when they're out having fun with their families or anything like that. But as far as I'm concerned, the world is in disarray, and it's not going to be corrected until the Israelites get their act together in the faith of hamashiach, and hamashiach comes and restores his people and establishes his nation in a way where we will be fit to do what Zechariah 8:23 says. When we're able to do what Isaiah 2:3 says, us distribute the law from Jerusalem. I believe that's what that is talking about, but equating it with Acts is difficult because Acts is actually talking about Jews coming from every nation, not people coming from every nation and converting to Judaism. That's my view on that.
Well,
but when you filter this through Christ, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say about Acts chapter 2, but go ahead.
I was saying when you filter this through Christ, you're looking at Acts 8 and 21 through 23. How? Again, I just wanted to kind of hear you a little more clearly because your explanation, there was a lot to miss. I want to make sure I caught all of it.
Hold on. You're saying Acts 8:21 through 23?
Oh, I'm sorry. Zechariah 8. My bad. Zechariah 8.
Okay, so back to Zechariah. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. So I got it on the screen again here. Well, here let me try to. Oops, I'm trying to make a quicker version here of 20 through 23. Yahweh says that many different people are going to come from all over. That's what verse 20 says. And he doesn't say, he doesn't, the indication is not just that they're Israelites or Jews because.
And look, what I'm going to do right now, because this is almost done. This is almost finished. So I'm just going to drop the link in the chat now. If there's any smoke of any sort in the chat and you have sound reason, click the link, bring your opposing view. Smoke is all I want. Especially if you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, don't do it. I find it hard to engage in conversation with y'all doctrinally. Maybe we could talk about science or something like that. Other than that, if you're a Christian, click the link if you disagree. If you're an Israelite that disagree with the doctrine, shit, click it. Let's see how it go. We're gonna finish this out, and I'm gonna bring you up.
In verse 23, it says they're going to take hold of the garment of a Jew. So the indication would be these themselves aren't Jews.
Real quick, it was Zechariah 2:11 that I was correcting. I was saying that I believe that is talking about Israelites. Zechariah 8:20 through 23, I do believe that saying other nations are going to come and worship before the Lord, and it's going to be up to us to be the priests and show them how to do that. And I was using Isaiah 2:3 as a parallel to show you another example of how that would work. Or you could even look at Isaiah 61 that talks about it. So I believe that Gentiles are going to come and worship before the Lord, but I believe the Jews are going to play a very significant role in those times in a very literal sense. That those people from those other nations are going to take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we'll go with you because we have heard God is with you. You and I agree that that number 10 is not literal. It's a number of completion just to show that, there's going to be a large number of Gentiles clamoring to get a hold of this knowledge. And, if we should get our acts together, then we, as far as Israelites go, we could be a part of that number that help and dispense his word, i.e. the Torah.
Yeah, then on 20, these are peoples who are not Israelites, who are coming from other places.
Right.
And they're actually wanting to do this to seek out Yahweh, which is important because they're not using a generic name for God. They're using the covenant name of God there. You would, of course, say Yahweh, but we understand the referent there. So they're saying, hey, we need to get with Yahweh. That's where we need to go. That's who we need to be with. That's who we need to have his favor. And so they're going together to do this. Many peoples, mighty nations will come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem and to entreat the favor of Yahweh. So notice they're not being forced. This is not under compulsion. This is a willingness to seek out the one true God, which when we look at this together, and I understand that you're a one Wester, Ahsh, I don't see how this matches with one Westism. One Westism is the idea that, hey, you know, these other nations are wicked. They can't understand our God, and all these kinds of things you guys will say about them. And you see the element of force in your understanding of a kingdom, and yet these people are willingly going to seek out the one true God. Many peoples and mighty nations will come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem and to entreat the favor of Yahweh. Thus says the Yahweh of hosts, in those days 10 men from every tongue of the nations. That's why I said it finds its fulfillment. You see the beginning of this in Acts chapter 2. Now the culmination would be in Revelation 5, where it says every nation, tribe, and tongue sings before the throne of the Lamb. Take hold of the garment of a Jew, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. So the question would be, okay, what about a Jew? Well, this is where the element of making sure we filter it through Christ. And it's not even just saying through Christ, it's through a new covenant lens as well. The question would be, what's that? Well, it's one who's a Jew inwardly. Well, who's a Jew inwardly? One who's born again, one who's circumcised of the heart. This is not something that's an ethnic element, because you're not going to go to Judas Iscariot and say, hey, Judas, teach us how to find Jesus. They're not going to go to Ahab and say, hey, Ahab, teach us how to find the one true God, because they wouldn't know themselves. And so when we look at this through the new covenant lens, this would be a perfect example of this would be, and I'm going to take it off the text for a second because that way I can jump back on here. The perfect example of this, I would say, yes, is Acts chapter 2, as I mentioned, in relationship to the beginning of this, although that's not the culmination. The culmination is every nation, tribe, tongue, would be, for example, the Ethiopian. You know, he's like, how can I understand this unless someone breaks it down for me? And then Philip does that exact thing. He's already reading a Torah, a Hebrew scroll, a scroll that has from the Tanakh, not Torah. But he's already reading it, so there's already that element of seeking right there. Another great example is the Macedonian call, where Paul has like a vision. Hey, come to us in Greece. Come to us in Greece. These are these examples where you see this happening in real time. And it's still happening today, and Christian missionaries are some of the people who get to see this the most when they go to other lands and they translate Bibles. You know, Ahsh, I know most Hebrazites don't like Christians, but, you know, why is the Bible in like almost, it's not quite done yet. The Tyndale has the stats on this, or Wycliffe, I'm sorry. Why is the Bible in all these languages? This is the work of Christian missionaries and evangelists who...
He shouldn't have asked me this. He think he's cooking right now. Watch your brother cook.
Sometimes do this at great peril to their own lives. There's a reason why almost now in 2024, every nation, tribe, and tongue can actually read or hear the Bible in their own language. It's not complete. The work is still going on. It's because of the activity of Christian missionaries and evangelists. And so that reality is coming to play. It's not completed, though. So that's how I would look at Zechariah 8. I do got to go, though. I got to go pick up a family member. So again, you can have the final word. I appreciate the conversation. I'm not going to be able to get anybody else in today. I know we had a couple people come in and out, but you can have the final word if you would like.
Yeah, man, that said, I really would like to carry this on at a later date so we could go more at length. I do believe that, you know, it is thanks to the Christian church that we have all these different translations, but in that same token, I do believe that a lot of people have been deceived, not necessarily by translation in itself, but by the isolation of these translations. It's almost as if the biblical narrative took place in a vacuum. Like the word Greek, for example, whether you're looking at Hellenista or Hellene, it's almost as if they take on a special meaning when you look at the Bible. There's almost no respect for how these words were applied historically. So it's also thanks to the Christian church that there's a lot of things that got to be ironed out in that regard. And I do believe that it's the Israelites' job to, one, we got to up our scholarship. I'll be the first to say that, and dispense the truth. And get everybody on the right page. Unfortunately, I don't think that. Woo, brother, hey man, that man needed a drink.
He needed a drink. This is how you stand on business. And I'm calling him out. Notice he didn't try to check that real quick. A scholar of his magnitude, I'm willing to say we could have stood toe to toe on that. Most Christians go to is the difference between Hellenista and Hellene. I'm sitting there calling his bluff. Okay, you could say the Christian church is doing all these things in different countries, but Revelation said that the devil will run to and forth and deceive while he still had a little time left. And that's what they've done through the Christian church. They are the banner for white supremacy. They are the religion that propagates white supremacy the most. They are the religion that instills the fear of the white man in colored people across the entire world, Israelites and Gentile alike. So yeah, thanks to y'all, we got to come and do this cleanup work. But I will say this is a call to my Israelite brothers and my Israelite sisters. This is why we got to get our shit together. Because if we hadn't fell off in this way, the Christian church wouldn't have been able to climb up and do what they did. Now we got to get it out the mud. Now we got to polish it off. Now we got to package it the right way. Now we got to deliver it properly straight to their front door, all gas when we hop in that delivery truck. What I'm saying is we have to put the pedal to the goddamn metal in these last days. Full court press on not just the Christians, but on our own people. That's why you need to join the ministry, whether you join in our ministry and you coming and getting with Fire of God, or you getting with Sakari, or you getting with a Genesis, or you getting with Israelite camp that got some goddamn sense. You email me on a one-on-one basis. I'll give you my opinion about the different doctrines that's out there. There's some that I would tell you to stay away from, like if they teaching that the new moon is the full moon, not because they're terrible brothers, but if you teach people how to keep the commandments the wrong way, you're not teaching them to keep the commandments. So that's not shots fired. That's all love. It's time to tighten it up in these last days. We are in the fourth quarter, and you know what happens in the fourth quarter? You make or you break the victory. You win or you lose. The other team's trying to tighten up their game right now based on how we move in the first few quarters. If we slack off now, you guess what? They could surpass us. Now that's not going to happen according to prophecy, but I'll be goddamned if I'm a part of prolonging this whole thing. We don't want to be in captivity any longer, do we? So we can't complain, we can't cry and not do the work at the same time. Get your ass out there, get your boots on the ground, get in the class, hit the email up, Fire of God Classroom, God damn it. Fire of God Classroom at gmail.com. I'm going to put the link in the chat again if anybody want to run one real quick, get chin check real fast. I'm just kidding. I'm talking crazy because I'm in debate mode, but for real though, click that link if you need to get it off your chest. We're gonna finish this out. But listen to this. I wasn't playing when I said this. This is what we're studying in the Fire God classroom. We come in here every Sunday and we touch on this history so that when a Christian tries, we can correct them real fast. Nah, this is what the scholars is actually saying. And the word Greek don't even refer primarily to somebody's bloodline. It refer mostly to religion in the biblical sense. Everybody's going to get on the right page until Christ's kingdom comes, hits the face of the earth. And, that ultimately is going to be based on us taking our job seriously enough in the Most High's grace and putting that into motion. But I appreciate you having me on. There's a lot of things that I won't be able to respond to because I would have to go at length. Because you had also mentioned the Ethiopian eunuch. I don't think that's a good example. And, that ultimately is going to be based on us taking our job seriously enough in the Most High's grace.
I'm not going to be able to get. I'm not going to be able to get anybody else in today. I know we had a couple people come in and out, but you can have the final word if you would like.
Yeah, man, that said, I really would like to carry this on at a later date so we could go more at length. I do believe that, it is thanks to the Christian church that we have all these different translations, but in that same token, I do believe that a lot of people have been deceived, not necessarily by translation in itself, but by the isolation of these translations. It's almost as if the biblical narrative took place in a vacuum. Like the word Greek, for example, whether you're looking at Hellenista or Hellene, it's almost as if they take on a special meaning when you look at the Bible. There's almost no respect for how these words were applied historically. So it's also thanks to the Christian church that there's a lot of things that got to be ironed out in that regard. And I do believe that it's the Israelites' job to, one, we got to up our scholarship. I'll be the first to say that, and dispense the truth. And get everybody on the right page. Unfortunately, I don't think that everybody's going to get on the right page until Christ's kingdom comes, hits the face of the earth. And, that ultimately is going to be based on us taking our job seriously enough, and the Most High's grace in putting that into motion. But I appreciate you having me on. There's a lot of things that I won't be able to respond to because I would have to go at length. Because you had also mentioned the Ethiopian eunuch. I don't think that's a good example of somebody from another nation necessarily, in the sense that you're talking about coming and wanting to get to know the word of the Lord. I think that's an Israelite that had been in a captivity to the Nubians at that time. There's another example. People think that that's talking about Ethiopia, and there's no such a thing as the Ethiopia that they know today. They think that the people who were known as Axum at that time were in that place, and those people were early converts to Christianity. That's actually a reference to Nubia.
That's a Christian kingdom right there. Axum, the Christian king.
So you see that right there. That's another example. Thanks to the Christian church and their interpretation of things, we don't have the understanding that, it says Ethiopian, but that's referring to people that are from above the sub-Saharan Africa, right? It just means black skin at that time. The nation that we know as Ethiopia now don't exist yet. That was a Nubian empire that controlled the northern part of Africa. How do I know that? Because when you look at that queen, her name is translated or transliterated Kandak rather than Candace. When you look at some early transliterations, she was a Nubian queen. There wasn't no Axumite queen named Candace. So that they got that messed up. People don't reconcile that. So their whole view of what was going on during that time is all messed up thanks to Christianity. Right. So, I'm letting him know, there's some scholarship here that y'all don't put into it. Y'all don't care to, because you guys want to sell this dream to everybody. We want to straighten out and let them know as exact as possible what was actually going on. That's the care that a true Jew put into it. But, that's what happens because they fear the truth.
Kingdom, one of the few unconquered African peoples, because of their strong monarch and their strong separate faith that kept them preserved away from the horrors of Islam. Praise God. And a lot of us have met Ethiopian Christians, wonderful, wonderful brothers and sisters.
And that, folks, is how you change the subject.
Christ. Well, we could pick this up. I'm not doing debates like next week, but we can always set up more formal debates. There's all kinds of options like that. In fact, I'm going to be in San Diego next week, and I'm hoping to have some face-to-face helpful discussions with some Israelites out there. We'll see if it works out or not. But I'll leave it there. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you for all the birthday love. And Ash, let's.
So yeah, that's how that went down. I'm already looking for some more smoke. It's early, and there's a channel called Talking Doctrine that's live right now. I'm thinking about seeing if they want to run the fade. They got the nerve to have a StreamYard link in the chat right now. I don't see no links coming through. I want to see it. I want to see somebody come through with the link. Come through the link. Come through. And you know, if not, put your questions in the chat. I'll answer questions for a little while. This is a short one. I want y'all to make sure though, before you leave up out of here, make sure that you go and then you go see about this debate that's coming up real quick. Make sure you go see about that debate. Let me find that link real quick and drop that link for you, family. I appreciate y'all coming through. It's been another good build. Hit the email, join the ministry, fireofgodclassroom@gmail.com. You know, we are on the rise. The nation as a whole, we are on the rise. But if you like the way we do it on this side, then come do it with us. Come do the work with us. Let me see. Where's that link for the debate? I'm gonna get up out of here since y'all a little quiet today. I feel you. Link is going in here right now for the debate. Click that link. Subscribe to that channel. Hit the notification bell. Trey say you're gonna go over there. You're gonna end this live. I'm thinking about it, man. Is that what's going on? Y'all want to come over there with me and see what happens? Let's see. That might be how we finish up. How do I do this? I need to find the history, talking doctrine. Boom. Somebody said eschatology is completely separate from salvation. That's crazy. Yeah, that's where we going. I'm gonna leave this chat open for the time being. And I'm about to run over there and see if I could crack a skull real quick when it comes to that. That's crazy. Catch me on that side, yo. With that, we're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. We do this in the name of his son, who the world called Jesus Christ, Yahawashi. It's been good. Shalom.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,